Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Roaming Prepper Channel, and thank you for joining me today. So today we're just going to do a product review of one of the other Readywise products. I'm not only a big fan of Readywise, I am a bit of an affiliate, but I also found that the way they package a lot of their stuff makes more sense to people like me. Because I'm traveling, I'm on the road, I go hiking and fishing with friends and work colleagues, and it just turns out to be a good product. So what I'm going to do, I'll be right back, and then we're going to talk about some options for long-term food storage, and then we're going to cook one of these products, and we're going to see what it tastes like, what it looks like, and we're going to just walk through the process so you can get eyes on what you're buying before you have to buy it. So I'll be right back, and let's talk about that. Welcome back, everybody. This is Roaming Prepper Channel. Thank you for joining me again. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, I normally will premiere this type of video, which means I'll be live in the chat. But if for some reason I do not make it to my own premiere for work reasons, which has happened, or something comes up, I will happily try to answer any comments or questions you have below in the video. So once again, I want to emphasize that in the current inflationary environment, until supply chain and costs settle down, you have to get a bit creative with what you can do. So the easiest thing to get are the off-the-shelf food products, right? That's your canned food, your box pasta, and then stuff like this, which is, I've used these before, I really like them, the Knorr rice sides. They have pasta sides, rice sides, stuff like that. And what this does is, it's basically a little meal in a bag. You can't cook it in here. So whenever you make something like this, you're gonna have to transfer the contents to a pot or some other container and then add the hot water. Now, for instance, if you're cooking this, it says in a medium saucepan, bring 2 cups of water to boil, 1 tablespoon of margarine, stir in the pot, reduce the heat, cover, and let it simmer for 7 minutes. But you need a pot and a cover. So if you're camping or hiking and you have an open top pot, now you have to figure out how to cover it so it simmers. You can't cook it open-ended, but you're gonna have more evaporation, and that's gonna make the product taste a little different, so you have to factor that in. You can also use it in a microwave. So you have some options. I'm sure if you boil water and just pour it into like one of those old-style coffee percolators with the internals taken out, you could probably cook it in there too, but you get what I'm saying. You do need to factor in for a pot, for the 2 cups of water, for margarine, and you could probably skip the margarine, but you need somewhere to cook it where it's covered, or you need a microwave. So this becomes a bit more challenging to cook with over, say, a fire. Now, if you have a camp stove or a fire and you do have a pot and you can make a lid, or it has a lid, you should be able to make these just fine. Now, these are the cheapest way to go. Now, second cheapest, in my opinion anyway, is to Mylar and store yourself. A lot of you are canners. I've been on a kick of dehydrating veggies in my dehydrator. This is actually broccoli I made earlier this year. I put it in a Wallaby Mylar bag. I put a couple of little tabs in here, and I threw my O2 absorber in here, pulled a vacuum on it, and took most of the air out, and then I threw the O2 absorber in anyway. Just a reminder, the oxygen absorber may not make it look like it has a vacuum on it. That's okay, because really what it's doing is pulling the oxygen out of the air. The air is majority nitrogen anyway. It's only a smaller percent oxygen, which is what the oxygen absorber is trying to take out. So you may have nitrogen and other components of air in there that shouldn't hurt the food at all. The pro of this is it's relatively cheap, and you can kind of pack it to your heart's desire with whatever you want. The con is it is a soft-sided container, so bugs, if they detect what's in there, they can try to penetrate it. But overall, this is your second option, especially if you can buy the Mylar bags in a bulk package. It makes it a lot cheaper. And then you go to the third option, which is the longer term commercial foods, right? And I've covered this before. In particular, I'm a big fan of the Readywise products. You have like Readywise Simple Kitchen, which a few of you may have won in some of my giveaways, as well as the Readywise Adventure Meals. Now, this is a longer term kitchen product. It's meant for, 15, 20 years plus. Let's see, this is, so this one, the Simple Kitchen is actually a couple of years. Then they have the long-term packages, which will last up to 15 and 30 years depending on the product. Then they have a third line, which is the Adventure Meal. Now, this is not meant for long-term product storage, but rather this is meant to take with you on hikes, fishing trips, wherever. You can cook this in the bag. So unlike some of the other Readywise lines and some of the other pre-made long-term foods, stuff like this, you need a pot. So cooking this is very similar to cooking this. This is a little bit better life expectancy, and again, you still need a pot to cook both, either or. You can't cook this in the bag. At least not that it indicates. So yeah, you have to stir the contents of a pouch into the boiling water in a pot. So once again, longer term, shortest term, so say a year, 2 to 3 years, but again, higher price point, higher sodium, because remember, any long-term food, whether it's Readywise, Mountain House, or any of the others on the market, in order to store it longer, it does have more chemicals. You can see there's a multitude of ingredients in there, but the caloric content is relatively low. If you're trying to watch your weight in an emergency, you probably won't. And then, of course, it has some other nutritional values on the back. So again, cheapest, Mylar, second cheapest, going to this, more expensive, and then the higher tier product, which gives you the best life expectancy, but at a cost, would be stuff like this. Now, there are a lot of good products on the market. I've used Augustin Farms, I've used Mountain House, I've used Readywise. I actually have come to really like these because of the way they package them. Instead of having to buy this in a big package that doesn't make sense, they actually have an option where you can buy it in the smaller Adventure Meal size, and that's easy to fit in a backpack or even throw in your vehicle. And you can cook with it. So I'm going to review this one real quick because this is one I have not made before in one of my videos. So generally speaking, the instructions are as follows: tear a pouch at notch, add 2 cups boiling water, stir, and then eat and enjoy. As it says here, these are the instructions over here. As you can see, the caloric content is high, and so is your sodium. So once again, you got to factor that in. If someone is very sensitive to sodium for heart or blood pressure related or any other reason, this may not be a great fit, or you're going to have to be cautious with how much you eat. But in an emergency, you're going to eat what you want. And made in the USA on top, which I'm a fan of. 34 grams of protein for the whole package and 2.5 servings. So roughly each serving is about 15, a little under 15 grams of protein, and the total package dry is 5.6 ounces. So what I'm going to do is we're going to heat up some water. Now I'm going to cheat. I'm not going to use a camping stove today. I'll be doing that in another video when I go into the field. I'm going to cook some of these out in the woods. But instead, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to throw 2 cups of water in this Corningware, and then I'm going to heat it in the microwave, and then we'll pour it into the package, and we'll kind of see what the product looks like. So I'll be right back. We're going to get some water boiling, and we're going to look at what the product looks like. So while I've got the water heating up, we're going to open this up and take a look at it. So as you can see, the camera's on the other side. You have that little notch here. Give it a tear, and open it goes. And then you can see the product inside. So once again, it has an O2 absorber. You need to not eat that. And this is what the product looks like on the inside. As you can see, it actually has meat, vegetables, and little noodles. So that's always a good sign that your long-term food product is actually a food. There's some you open and you can't recognize what's in them. This is the second one of this brand I've made. I did one out of a long-term pouch, which was mac and cheese. This is an adventure meal, which is cook in the bag as opposed to cook in a pot. And both are very similar. You have that actual food in there. And once again, remember, do not eat this thing because that's not good for you. Anyway, so what I'm doing right now, I'm going to heat up some water and we're going to pour it in here. Now, I did learn one lesson the last time I tried to cook something like this. I used a small spoon, but I had very hot water all coming out of this one little slit here, and I had my hand over it and I burned myself. So today, I'm going to use a spoon. Now, if you're out in the field, you may not have a long wood spoon like you would in the kitchen. You can use a knife, but be careful you don't puncture the bag, or you find a stick of a reasonable length, you whittle off the bark, kind of smooth it off the best you can with a knife, and then use that as your stirring implement. Either way, make sure you don't burn yourself in the field. A third-degree burn on a camping trip or in an emergency when you're trying to get home is just not something you want to contend with. So, and as a point of safety, as always, make sure you have things like Band-Aids and cold compresses in your kitchen in the event someone hurts themselves, which has happened in my kitchen, as you can imagine. So I'll be right back. That water's heating. I got a couple of minutes there, and then we're going to pour it into the bag and we're going to get it to cooking. Hey gang, all right, so once again, what we're going to do here is we're going to cook a Readywise adventure meal. And just to reiterate, the difference between the adventure meal and some of the other Readywise products is that this is designed to be cooked in the bag, not in a pot. You can put it in a pot, but it's meant to be cooked in a bag. That beeping is my water, because I kind of cheated and used the microwave on this one. But that differs from the simple kitchen line, or the long-term food Readywise has that are meant to be cooked in a pot or some other container. This is in the bag. It's really meant for hiking and fishing. So I just want to reiterate that because I don't want you guys to forget. You try to cook in this bag, which is not going to handle the hot water, and you're going to hurt or burn yourself. And we don't want that. So let's take a peek at what it looks like. So we got our hot water over here. Oh, and that is very hot, so we're going to be careful with that. And once you do, you have your Readywise. I got my 2 cups of water. I'm going to open, and I'm going to carefully pour it into the container. And there we go. And I'm going to put this hot thing over here so I don't kill myself. And once again, you can see the steam coming out. Now, as I said before, I would use a mixing spoon. Now, it does have powder, which is part of the mix, as well as the noodles and the meat. So I want to be sure that I mix this thoroughly so that I don't burn the heck out of myself, nor do I get a bad product. And then, according to the instructions, I will seal this for stir well, close 15 minutes. So I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes. And we're going to go from there. I'll be back in 15, and we're going to see what this looks like. Alrighty, so I gave the product the 15 minutes. I then tested it, and unfortunately, I underestimated how hot my water was, which was really my bad. I tried to use the microwave, and the water felt plenty hot, but it may not have been hot enough. And I'm also at 2,800 foot elevation above sea level. So that's going to affect the way certain foods cook, including this one. So as you can see, I was snacking on some of it. The noodles and the sauce cooked fully. It was fine. The dehydrated meat that you see in here, the little darker pieces of food, those did not cook fully through. And again, I have to say that I probably did not heat the water hot enough for my elevation. And I probably could have left it not only hotter water, but make sure I left it instead of 15, maybe 20 minutes. Now, in theory, you definitely can cook these not using hot water. You could put cold water in an emergency, but then you have to let it sit apparently for an hour or so. So what I decided to do, just to get a feel for what it really tastes like, I broke out a pot And I'm actually, let's not burn my fingers while I'm videoing. I put it on a low simmer on my gas stove, and I'm kind of cooking it. And let's see, let me turn that off so I don't burn myself or the food. Okay, and that looks, yeah, that looks right now. So let's put a little bit of that. Okay, so that, yeah, you can already tell just looking at it that the little meat is probably fully cooked. So I'm gonna give this a bite. Give me a second here. Up. Maybe a couple of more minutes, but yeah, that was part of the problem. Was the water was not hot enough, and I didn't let it sit long enough. So I put it on the stovetop, and it kind of gave it a better consistency on all the components. So that's good. Now, one thing you could do, which I thought about, was I can actually take dehydrated veggies and throw it into the pot. Now I have to add extra water to account for that. All right, guys, so obviously a couple of the lessons I've learned with this, the adventure meals. One, remember, only the adventure meals can have the hot water put in them. Don't do it with other brands or other bags without making sure it's a boil-in bag design, or you will probably burn through the Mylar and you'll either make a mess at a minimum or burn yourself, which would not be good. I did need to heat the water better, which I did not do at the first attempt. So the meat and the noodles were cooked. The meat was a little undercooked. Now that I've put it in the pot and I cooked it for a while, I just turned this off, and now it's about the right consistency, maybe a few more minutes. Not a bad product at all. It tastes good. It tastes the way I'd expect this particular dish to taste. One thing I would add, which isn't part of the product, so I'm not knocking the product, but if you want to add to it, you take dehydrated veggies or even canned veggies and throw them in. If they're dehydrated, I throw them in earlier and put extra water. If it's a canned veggie, you could probably add it after you've cooked it. Just throw whatever green beans or mushrooms, whatever you want in there. This could also be a good side to something else if you have something else to eat. But as you can see, you know, this is a 3-quart pot, and it's about halfway full with this product. So that's quite a bit of food for what you're getting, which is more than some other products. And I'm not knocking any, but I've tried a few of these types of cook and bag meals that are pre-made, and I don't remember them having this much product in it. Again, remember that versus, say, a store-bought can, you're going to have a price differential, but this is a longer-term food. This is meant for something different. So factor in a few things. Factor in availability of water. Factor in you need to be able to cook, or at least to make it quick, you'll need to be able to cook and heat that water, or cook the product in a pot, although you don't need to use the pot. Also, as with any long-term meal, there'll be a higher sodium content, so make sure you factor that into your nutrition as well. Other than that, this turned out to be a really good product. I was really happy with it. I'm actually going to store the rest of this in a Tupperware because I may be out and about this weekend with one of the dogs at the park, and so I'm going to take that as a snack in my bag. But yeah, folks, this is not bad for what you're getting. You actually get a lot more food than I recall some of the other brands having. Again, I would do my own comparisons if I were you. Find something that fits your budget, fits your taste buds, and that you can easily find in your area. So I'll leave you with that. And remember, make sure you have something suitably long, like this spoon, if you're going to cook it in the bag, so you don't burn your fingers on the steam when you open it up. But that concludes the taste test and the cooking example. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this informed you a little bit. Remember that Readywise right now is only offering 5% for new subscribers to order. If you use the code ROAMING10, all caps, with the number 10 at the end, they'll give you 10% off of the product. So if it fits in your budget and it's something you think you'd like to try, I'd highly recommend them. But again, as always, and I'm going to tell you this, whether or not you buy it, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have products like this in your inventory. If nothing else, for days out in the field, But if there's an emergency, it's something quick and easy to cook, and you can sustain yourself over some extra time having stuff like this around. So stay on budget, stay safe, be careful. Until my next review, God bless, Godspeed, and if you have any questions, don't forget to throw them below in the video. I hope this helped you out. We'll take care, and we'll see you on the next one.